Ready and racing.
Welcome to the Dogcast for Greyhound Racing SA. Visit grsa.com.au.
Welcome to the latest edition of the Dogcast, brought to you by Greyhound Racing SA. I'm your host, Bretton Yates, and joined by Greyhound Racing SA's racing manager, Sean Matheson, who's back on deck for today. Yep. Matho, welcome. We've got a big program to have a look at.
Yeah, Yatesy, looking forward to the show. Great to be with you today. And yeah, the racing just keeps getting better and better here in SA. Some more feature races coming up in the coming weeks, and obviously heading towards the Nationals in August, but really exciting racing and plenty to talk about on the show.
Yeah, sure is. We're going right around the state, quite literally. We've got Mount Gambier, the Anniversary Cup, so we'll touch on that. We've got the North v South Challenge, so we'll get stuck right into that. Of course, on Thursday night, we've got the final of the Champion Puppy.
Yep. No, really good. So plenty to talk about.
Okay, we'll get stuck into it right after this.
The Week in Review.
Our Week in Review brought to you by the Fresh Pet Food Co., proud suppliers of fresh pet food for our GAP SA Greyhounds. They're in the GAP prison programs. They're based right here in South Australia, so visit their website, freshpetfoodco.com.au for more information. Matho, plenty to check out here. We might get underway with Sunday's information. So last Sunday night at Gawler, we had the first round of the North v South Challenge. Firstly, take us through how this all works, and then we'll get stuck into the results from Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the second year, Yatesy, of running the North v South Challenge, brought together by the Gawler Club and Murray Bridge Club, who wanted to get a bit of a connection between their participant group and the Greyhounds. And we sort of developed this concept of effectively a two-round series into a final, which rotates at Murray Bridge and at Gawler. We're at Gawler, obviously, for the finals this year. We have the first round, which is, two 500-metre races, one for the North participants, if you like, and then one race for the South participants. We also have the same thing over the short course, over the 400 metres, which was Sunday night at Gawler, one for the North and one for the South. And those same fields effectively get picked up and moved to Murray Bridge, different box draw, same dogs. That will give us two rounds of races, if you like, and then the top four qualifiers from the 500-metre event from North and South, and top four from Murray Bridge. They go together in the final at Gawler on Sunday in a couple of weeks' time. Should be really exciting who actually takes out the challenge. I know last year it was split. The South won one and the North won the other. Yep. So I'm sure there'll be plenty of interest in the next coming weeks. But we had some really good racing on Sunday night in both of those challenge races.
So we had the first division over the 531 metres, a terrific effort by Dash of Blue. Great training performance this by Richard Pearce. He'd given it nearly 3 weeks off, dropping back in trip. And, had a really nice beginning to the race as well, which was, once he's in front, how are they going to get past him?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, probably one of the most improved chasers in the state. He's really progressed really well. We know he took out the Shane McQueen from box one. And when he drew box one in this round, I thought, he's going to be hard to beat. Didn't think he'd lead, though, Yates.
No.
And that's the key. I think a lot of people thought Agent 19, who did start favourite in the race, would lead. But wasn't the case. Dash of Blue led, as you said, on the back of a 3-week break. Great training performance. Got the job done. Ran time too, 30.56. But just really raced away from them during the latter part of the event. Agent 19, a good run into second. And both Springvale Bray and Zipping Highland both ran good races. Zipping Highland first up for a while, showed good speed. Zipping Bray's more of a staying type and was getting home hard along the rail. So, I mean, really interesting race. They'll all head off to Murray Bridge over the 5:30, which, some of these might not have seen. So it'll be interesting to see how they go. Just on that, probably a bit unfortunate, the North smallish fields. The South have really come to the party and really supported this series. So really pleased for them. And definitely the people from the North who did nominate terrific work. But we'd like to see more people from the north really support this series.
Yeah, and that 530 metres at the bridge is a bit different, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like more of a testing run. So some that are maybe more suited to the sprint may just find themselves a little bit vulnerable there. Dash of Blue certainly not one of those.
Yep.
Very, very strong. What about the next division? So this was the South. As you mentioned, great field assembled.
Great field.
What about the win of O Louise? Take us through this. So powerful mid-race.
I know she's one of your favourites, Yatesy, particularly. I mean, she ran third in the Anniversary Cup back in April,
Yep.
and we thought, oh, here we go. But I don't know, she sort of hit a bit of a flat spot in her form. But, geez, late in the race here, didn't she accelerate away from the field?
Yep.
Tim Richards, his team's going really well. She drew 5. She began quite well, sat midfield. But, yeah, really accelerated away, 30.91. Victor Speed did run a good race, I think. Got checked a couple of times in the run when he was trying to build momentum. Held on really well, but 5 lengths away from the winner. And Finis Whisper and Finis Surprise, Finis Redeem ran it out the 3rd, 4th and 5th there. But yeah, I think the top 2 there are probably going to be the hardest to beat when we head off to Murray Bridge. I think Victor Speed will be a tougher opposition at the bridge over the 5:30, as you mentioned about that strong run and a bit more cleaner racing. But really good to see Eloise back in form.
Yeah, the thing that impressed me about its run was when it had clear room on the outside, Eloise. So that's when really started to charge into the race. And at Murray Bridge, you're going to get that because there's such a long back straight. So
Yep.
I really feel like it's going to set up well. And just the space that it put on them in the home straight was, as you said, a 5-length margin. Probably added 3 lengths in the home straight alone. Was
Yeah.
probably a couple of lengths clear and then really put them away. So it was a terrific effort. Well done to Tim Richards and the team. What about the sprint? So we're over the 400 here, and this market quite surprising to me. Velocity Tunny had been in really good form, but was strongly backed, and Toby West, who's a record holder out there at Gawler, was a big-time drifter out to $4 in the end. Take us through this race.
Amazing prices, Yates.
Yeah.
When what they started at
Yeah.
compared to what they opened at. But yeah, I mean, Velocity Tani led, which I think is what the market suggested Velocity Tani would do.
But shifted up,
Yeah.
didn't
and
it? Yeah.
The run where it was Toby West, I think most of us expect Toby West generally likes to go around other
Yep.
dogs, use that really good mid-race acceleration, which we know he has. He's got an amazing mid-race. But he went to the inside of Velocity Tani. And off the back straight, once he was to the inside of Velocity Tani, that was it. He was going to run away with it.
Yeah.
Probably, I think most people didn't expect Toby West would probably begin sort of as well and be in that position, pretty much second early. 22.59, really red hot run. Velocity Tani held on for second. Mr. Ticket, a Masters dog for Ben Rawlings, did a nice job as well. 30.79, and Mr. Ticket does go well at the bridge, but we also know Toby West does too, because I reckon last year Toby West took out the series, but I reckon it might have been the 500-metre series that Toby West took out last year, so over the short course this year. So terrific training performance. But yeah, I mean, the top, Toby West is going to be hard to beat as the series goes on, I think.
Yeah, it was a fabulous win. That mid-race acceleration is extraordinary. But like you say, a little bit of a different pattern. Went back to the inside, had some clear room and sort of really spaced them. The South Division, so once again, a big field here. Hot Sky, very impressive win in the sense of, look, the time obviously wasn't as quick as Toby West, but had to cross from the outside and showed some really nice acceleration early. Sort of held a little bit in the early stages, maybe a half to a length, had to really continue to work, but ended up being a pretty nice win in the finish.
Yeah, good win for the Rasmussens. Big field. There was a bit of crowding on the first turn there, and I think a few of the ones who finished in the second half of the field, you can sort of put a bit of a line through and see how they go at the bridge on Sunday night, particularly Springvale Maddie and Go Snow. They were going to be up on speed, and they both found trouble. So I'd definitely still be looking at them as strong chances in the series with a bit more clearer running at the bridge. But take nothing away from Hot Sky. Again, that box 8 obviously suited because it was able to avoid that trouble and accelerate really strongly. Diesel Runner, good run at Gawler, and we know this dog is high grade at Murray Bridge. Will love getting back to the bridge over the 395. And Kenya Racer also loves the Murray Bridge circuit. So they did good performances to run second and third. really even series, the South, for the short course, I think. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. You could almost flip that race and get that sort of result at the bridge in placing. So really open. But Hot Skies got the advantage there with the win.
Yeah, well, terrific stuff. So they will all meet again come Sunday night with the final on Sunday the 30th at Gawler.
Yep.
Okay, what about the Mount Gambier Anniversary Cup? So, look, we haven't got a full box draw for you as yet, but we might be able to just sort of touch on this. It's and look, it's a race that's had more money injected into it as well, Matho, for this year. So it's an $8,000 final.
Yeah, it is. And so the club, they obviously have their cup every year in the March, April sort of time slot, depending on where Easter is. And they were looking at another second quality feature. And their Anniversary Cup has always been well supported over the years. So with the support of GRSA and the club, we've injected a bit more money into the race, $8,000 total prize money. And I think it was reflective of the noms. We did get 2 heats, which is not surprising to get 2 heats, but I think the depth there, Yatesy, was really impressive. We had some dogs travel down from the metro area. I think Tim Aloisi travelled down with Ravers Army and a couple of his team, and we had some dogs from across the border, let alone the local. So it was a really strong series, and the first heat was taken out by a Victorian. I think.
Aston Marvel. Now, this is a big dog, nearly 38 kilos, this greyhound, and was able to push through, grab the lead pretty comfortably, but look, really extended for a nice win. 5.5 lengths, the margin in the end, running 29.50, so it was actually the quickest sort of heat to go through, but he just strikes me as a greyhound that's going to need a draw in the final because of his size. He's so big and bulky. And look, out of that particular heat, I didn't feel like there were a lot of excuses in behind. So it was sort of a one-act affair, I felt, in the opener.
Yeah, I think Dustin Drew trained, Aston Marvel.
That's it.
So he's a good supporter of definitely through feature races at Mount Gambier. So good to him get a win and kick the series off in fine style. So I said the top 4 from that heat will go through to the final. I said the box draw will be out later. So that'll be crucial. But then the second heat, Yatesy, again, I think Dave Peckham's dog,
Aston Zeeble, which has been really good for a long period of time. He's also a big dog too. Yeah, well, I think he's about 34 kilos, so a little lighter. But that said, was too good again. Once again, found the lead. In fact, the first heat was lead and second, run 1-2. Same here. Yep. Lead and second, run 1-2. I did like the close of the second Greyhound Classic moment in this race. So just had to find a little bit of trouble early and overcome that to get to chase Aston Zeeble. But in the home straight, sort of took a length or so off, and Aston Zeeble was highballing, 29.52. Yeah. And I really like the close of Classic moment, so I don't think it's without a chance in the final.
Okay, well, I mean, just in looking at it, I thought Aston Zeeble, a very professional dog. I thought he loves Mount Gambier.
He's a faultless beginner, isn't he, down there? There's not a lot of times you see him not box well.
No, and it's the key to that. And as you talked about box draws, I mean, he could draw anywhere and he'll still put himself in the picture. I mean, obviously draws a bit closer to the rail, he'll be really hard to beat. But he's been flying for Dave Peckham. I mean, the first 4 go through. So it's going to make for a really interesting final. I said $8,000. It's going to be a strong program there on Sunday at the Mount. They had 4 heats over 3:05 for a maiden, so a really good final. And they've got a 700-metre feature on there, and I saw Zipping Neutron, Yatesy, was down there on Sunday and ran 43.3. The track record's 43.1, so I'm expecting another big performance there. Maybe you like calling track records. I might call a track record on Sunday for Zipping Neutron, but obviously the highlight will be the Anniversary Cup final.
Yeah, absolutely. We look forward to that. So the final will be made up of Aston Zeeble, Classic Moment, Artificial Blue and Max Power, and Aston Marvel, Nero Valentino, Whiskey Chaser and Shameless. That's for Sunday's Anniversary Cup final. Now the champion puppy... Matho, a bit light on for numbers this year. We'll get to the final and do a full preview of that. That's coming up on Thursday night. We normally have heats into a final of this series, but this year, obviously, numbers were the issue. So we had the Prelude run last week.
Yeah, so they're really young dogs. They're just turned 2, effectively, so and younger. So really young. Unfortunately, there was only 8 nominations for last Thursday night.
This isn't a paid-up 4 series, is it? This is purely age-restricted.
Age-restrictive.
Yeah.
SA bred, non-SA bred, doesn't matter, just what age you are. So, I mean, last year we had 3 heats, so it was really good last year, nice and strong. Only 8 nominations. We would have loved to have ran 2 heats, Yatesy, to get to a final. But as it was, we ran an 8-dog prelude because the feature race really has to land on this Thursday night. Fresh Food sponsors, so they'll be in attendance, I think, on Thursday night. So I wanted to land on that. So we ran the prelude and we had 8 dogs. Unfortunately, the finals got 6 dogs, which we'll talk about later. But that's the nature of it. An 8-dog prelude, gave a few dogs a hit out. A few were stepping up to the 500 for the first time and probably needed the run. But you can't really take much away from the winner. Although I did find one that I think could beat it in the final.
Really?
I know. But
okay.
But one last kiss for Bill Wodarczyk, I mean, did give them a start and a beating.
Yeah.
So very impressive through that prelude. And just the way One Last Kiss wound up in the middle stages. Yeah, really exciting, that dog.
Yeah, it was extraordinary, the win. Got a long way back early, picked them up, put them away. And as far as a prelude for an insight into a final, with a lot of the similar runners backing up, you just got to figure out. I'm interested in what story you're going to come up with as to how they get it beat. So look forward to that coming up in our next segment. Thought we'd touch on a couple of the interstate runners that we've had, Victor Damien and Victor Marley, coming through their runs in Melbourne. Unfortunately, both beaten, but look, both probably ran okay. What did you think?
Well, to tell you the truth, I was a bit surprised that they turned up in the maturity on Saturday night. I thought, just particularly with Victor Damien, I thought had a tough campaign in Queensland. Looked a bit flat at his last run. Thought, okay, maybe a break, get him ready for the Nationals. But, I mean, obviously Tony and Lisa know exactly what they're doing with that dog. They turned up at the maturity heats, drew 1. Again, I don't think the inside draw is really great for him. He does what he does, really. Sort of came out okay. There's a lot of speed at that Group 1 level. They crossed him. He landed about 4th, and he rocketed home to grab 2nd. Unfortunately, didn't qualify for the final. There's 8 heats. But he was, you can't take nothing away from him. I mean, he's going around in group races every time he goes around. So he's doing a wonderful job for the team. But far from disgracing running 2nd. They run time in the lead, so it's really hard for him to make ground. And Victor Marley, as you mentioned, she's just such an honest chaser. She found there was pressure on the first turn for her in her heat, and she sort of withstood that and guts it out to run a really good 3rd, I thought. So yeah.
Look, the concerning thing for me with Damien was mid-race. Like, he was untouched a little bit as far as trouble. Now, he elected to go back to the inside around the first bend, which is fine. We normally, some of his best mid-race acceleration has been around them. Now, he had to come through underneath. That said, there was space on his outside, so there was no direct pressure sort of hampering.
Yep.
I feel like he missed that mid-race acceleration that perhaps we're used to seeing. He certainly bought it in the home straight. Like, he was able to build up and charge home. I just felt there was a bit of a flat spot compared to what we've seen him at his top, just through that mid-race section. The early part of the race, we just know he can't match it with them early. So that didn't surprise me. Getting cross, he had plenty of space, in my view, to be able to push through and do what he needed to do. It was that position of heading into the back to coming off the back, where I felt like he just laboured a bit. He didn't have that turn of speed that we saw perhaps later in the home straight. So, but like you say, Tony and Lisa, I mean, far be it from us to have a strong view on this greyhound. But just from what the eyes told me, that was how I saw that run. What that means, I don't know. But I just felt like there was that lack of zip mid-race.
Yeah, I think that in his last start in Queensland, I think we felt that a little bit. And it was a little bit there, the Meadows. We expect so much of this dog, so we know what the dog can do. He's a special greyhound, and he's shown what he can do locally and interstate. It's just that beginning, isn't it? That just because you want him to be up on speed and then just put him away, but he's coming from behind all the time. So I don't know whether that's taken its toll on him. I'm not sure. No doubt, though, he'll be back here, and in a couple of weeks, everyone will be super excited to see him go around in the Nationals, and hopefully get through the series for the connection's sake and represent SA back at the Meadows for the Nationals. But that's still a few starts away. But I mean, he has done a super job, but. See how he goes back here in his home state.
Well, he was up there for the Brizzy Cup. Did you want to touch on the final there, the Brisbane Cup at $1 million extraordinary stake money, isn't it? Like, it's hard to wrap your head around, really. And the hot pot was rolled.
Yeah, amazing amount of money in Queensland. They've pretty much gone to number one for prize money, and $1 million race, $650,000 of the winner, taken out by the WA performer Elite Machine, who won the Perth Cup.
Yeah.
So no slouch, far from that. We know WA form stacks up everywhere. It is unusual to see them in Queensland, but money will get you there, right? You'll travel for that.
Yeah.
And so terrific for them. But Postman Pat, I don't think you can take a lot away from that greyhound. I mean, didn't begin as he can, and worked super hard and got into second. I think super admirable performance. He's a star, Postman Pat, make no mistake. Not that he didn't know that. He started pretty much odds on in the final. But in big racing, if you get that speed to lead, Elite Machine pinched a break, got the win, and taken out two cups. So.
Yeah, and the Postman Pat, like, there was the start, wasn't it, really? And then was so keen it appeared down the back to get to the fence, but just had two dogs underneath, kept bumping, accelerated, got around, but the Elite Machine was off and gone. It was a good margin in the finish. There was certainly nothing to take away from the winner. It did everything it needed to, so a terrific win. Well, let's look at our review. Up next, a preview of the Thursday night program, the big feature, the Champion Puppy.
The preview.
All right. The preview is brought to you by SA Greyhound Tips Twitter feed. Free tips for SA Metro Greyhound meetings. Search out the dogs SA. Get on board, and as always, gamble responsibly. Well, Matho, the Champion Puppy final coming up on Thursday night.
Yep.
You had a little story for us beforehand about how you could get the likely favourite beaten. So take us through it. It's is it race 6 on Thursday?
It's race 6 on Thursday night. Yep. 8:34 is our feature race. Obviously, school holiday time as well, Yatesy. You get a few kids out there, and the feature race nice and early, so anyone come out and see the feature and go home if they want to, or stay on for the rest of the night, but get plenty of kids there. But yeah, listen, I spent hours looking at the review of the race results.
Did
you? Hours.
A 30-second race took you hours?
Pretty much.
Okay.
No, but I had, apart from one last kiss in the heat, in the prelude, last week, Buzz the Hustler for Maury Kiley. If you look at its run, it was with one last kiss at the winning post, back with it early. And then one last kiss went around, Buzz the Hustler went to the inside, found plenty of trouble, knocked over a couple of times, then just kept finding trouble, going to the inside of dogs, and really didn't have a lot of luck. While one last kiss was making that really strong acceleration around, sort of lost a bit of touch, but then into the straight, again, went to the inside, really didn't have any clear running. Had drawn wide last week. Buzz the Hustler comes into box 1. One last kiss in the final has drawn 8. Suits one last kiss, you'd think, because it can just come around them out wide. But I think Buzz the Hustler can be a little bit further forward in the field, and I think if there is a danger to one last kiss, it is Buzz the Hustler, particularly if the dog can begin well. It has won from box 1, 30.84. Probably need to go a bit quicker than that to win, but I think it's a chance to topple the fave. That's my view on what I see there. Bear in mind, it's a 6-dog final, so there'll be a bit more room with the dogs. And really the only dog coming back into the mix is Dave Peckham's dog, Classy Shot, out of 2, which ran third in a maiden. So big step up in class for it. But effectively the first 5 from the prelude have all come through. So I'm leaning, I think one last kiss hard to beat, but I wouldn't be surprised if Buzz the Hustler knocked it over. How did you see the Champion
So over these few hours that you were pouring over the form, how many beers did you have there?
Plenty of beers.
Look, it's a 5-length margin you're talking about, and you're also wanting the same thing to happen with the pink that happened last time, which was didn't get a good start, totally bombed it. Can actually begin this greyhound as well. One last kiss. I appreciate the fact that you're going out there and looking for something to beat it, but sometimes it's as clear as the nose on your face as to what can happen in these races. And I think this is one of those races. I think one last kiss has shown us what he can do,
Yeah.
and he has now shown me that he can do it without things going his own way, which I think is important. So he'd had those first 2 wins, which were bounce and win, and he was able to run time. Now, when I say that, you've got to factor in the times of the night as well. So that debut run was that very wet night.
Yeah.
I think that's the night Victor Damien ran 30:21, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
it was bucketing down. So very good run. Subsequent 30:45 showed some improvement and had done it off the back of a heavy track, $1.35 winner. Then found trouble and ran 4th at $1.15, and that's what I'm thinking. Okay, so does it have to sort of have things go its own way? And then, admittedly, trouble-free in the sense of being knocked around, so had clear room, but not well away, able to balance, and then mid-race acceleration, clear room, got around them too good. As far as dangers go, look, I thought the second greyhound Foot Rot Fender chased home well.
Yep.
I felt like it sort of closed off late, a nice little margin there, and I felt like it ran okay. And Buzz the Hustler is one who surprised us a little bit back 2 and 3 runs ago, or 3 and 4 runs ago it is now, where it beat the short price favourite Where's Poppy in both of those runs. And he started 3:20, and then he was a bit more fancied at his next run and was still able to do it. So, look, I concede that he's got some sort of hope, but these hopes only happen if something goes drastically wrong, I feel, with One Last Kiss. So I think One Last Kiss comes out and he'll be too good, Matho. But I've gone 8, 7, 1 and 5 anyway for the numbers.
Well, obviously One Last Kiss short. How short do you reckon One Last Kiss will be?
Well,
there's no markets out yet for it.
No. So what you've got to do, generally, the way I look at things is you have a historical look back at starting prices. So you compare back to last week's, and this is a very good space to be able to analyse this stuff because it's basically the same dogs.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to me, that's key. He started $1.90 last week. To me, he picked them up, put them away, and it was probably better than $1.90 win. At the same time, those greyhounds who started closer in the market to him, Buzz the Hustler at $3.70, Foot Rot Fender at $4.60. You sort of go, okay, is the market going to see them in the same vein this time round? I feel like it's going to be a bit shorter. So I think it could even be, it may even be $1.50, One Last Kiss, maybe $1.70, but I feel like it's got to be shorter than what he was last week on what we saw.
Sure.
It's hard for me to draw a story that could make the market go the other way for him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I agree. I think he'll be short and really hard to beat. I'll lean towards Buzz the Hustler based on, again, a better drawn, and if you can land in front of One Last Kiss, again, like what you said, things would have to go a bit awry for One Last Kiss to bring other dogs into the race.
Yeah.
But I think, these things happen in feature races. We know 100 to 1 winners win Adelaide Cup. So, but I can't necessarily correlate that to the Champion Puppy race. But we'll put Buzz the Hustler on top to beat One Last Kiss, I think. And you've got the other ones there lined up. I think the Foot Rot Fender for Stamenkovics went really well, and Hurricane Carter wasn't a bad run. Second up over the 5:30. Interesting to see Dave Peckham's dog Classy Shot go.
Yeah, well, it's only having its second run.
Yeah.
Had debut run, was at Mount Gambier over the short there. So, look, you'd have to say it's a really, really big step.
Yes.
Not only in class, but you've got to have a level of strength and stamina about you in these sort of races. But look, I have seen from time to time greyhounds who have been successful over the short. They step up and they're able to ping and zip away and set up a big enough lead to hold on late. I just don't think this is a race that you'll see that. Now, the Anniversary Cup final, we touched on it before. We don't have a box draw as yet. Do you want to have a thought on a winner, or did we cover that off in the previous?
No, I think we're right in the preview. It's going to really be a really good race. I think, but box draw does matter. So wait for the box draw to come out, markets come out, and all of that. But it's clear, like a lot of these heats and final scenarios, the heat winners obviously will sort of dominate the market. You'd think. So
it's nearly who can get the lead as well. Particularly with Zeeble. pretty much a faultless beginner. I'm just a bit worried about Marvel, whether
Yep.
it can get down to the rail in the lead. But box draw, I think, is going to be crucial. So, all right, what about other winners then, mate? Thursday night, let's roll you out. What's the best?
Okay, Thursday night, the best for me, Yatesy, will be go to race 5 on Thursday night, and it's going to be number 7 Express Speed for the Rasmussen team. 2 runs ago ran third behind Basil Brush Rose, but has been running against Queen of Scotch. Bernardo Bowl last week ran 5th. Wasn't a bad run last week, actually, but drops back to what you consider probably a bit more genuine sort of grade 5 company when it's been racing against higher opposition. I've seen this dog against this sort of company from a wide draw, race up on speed and be a bit too strong over the end. And I do think that'll occur, particularly Alinga Molly from the 5 has the speed here, I think, will come out running, might be able to give Express Speed a bit of a run across. And I think just with that, competing against the better dogs, if you like, in open company, we'll see him be a bit too strong at the end. I reckon you could get $4 or $5 about him. So I reckon that will be my best bet for the night. What about?
I love the analyst's comment in the race book, Matho. Get your darts out, ladies and gentlemen, because that is what you'll need to select the winner here, and you've found a best.
Well, that's it. Well, I don't need to worry about 4 hours of study. I just get on the dartboard.
Just what about the box though, Matho? What did you make of its record from the box draw? So it's had 6 starts and never run a place from box 7, but I do concede it can get a lovely run over.
Yeah, I'm not too concerned about that. I think the class edge, I think it will be able to allow the dog to race up on speed. It does need to begin. I mean, it's not a dog that pings out. He does need to begin.
You can see it 3rd or 4th tracking up and then being too strong.
No, I think against our open company dogs, he can't run past them. But against grade 5 company, I think he can run past them. And I think you might get a bit of a price about him. So that'll be my best, race 5, number 7 on Thursday night. Yatesy, what have you got?
I've got a couple. Don't know, though. Well, the first one might be backable. Victor Marley I like. So, look, the reason I like her is I really liked her run in Melbourne. So you touched on the way she was able to take pressure and then duck back to the rail and still... I thought she battled on so courageously in the run home. It was such a good effort. And the other thing I like about this race is she gets a setup for her that just looks beautiful on paper. I mean, Queen of Scotch in 3, Curon Cam in 4. That's going to be the sandwich of all time. And then you've got Livet, who's drawn outside of Victor Marley, who can tend to want to stay up a bit. So I just see her getting the loveliest of runs going to the first bend. And on what she showed me, that bottom end again on Saturday night, I really liked. So she's my best, race 7, number 6.
I mean, that's a really good race 7. But as you spoke about race pattern, it does just set up for it. Because
I think so.
You sort of think a few of the main chances will run into each other. We've spoken about Queen of Scotch, how she's desperate to get wide, and Coron Cam desperate to get to the rail. It could be really interesting on that first turn.
Yeah, and Victor Marley's got the space of the 5 not being there as well, plus the room that's probably going to come with Curon Cam. I guess the little concern is if Curon Cam begins so sweetly and Queen of Scotch and Victor Marley bump together. But
the thing with Victor Marley, though, she is electric out of the boxes, isn't she? And she's had that benefit of racing against strong opposition. Yeah. So, no, I like that bet for you there, Yatesy.
The other one, mate, is in the 595 metre race. We see Miss Artemis step out over this distance range for the first time here in South Australia. Is a distance winner in Sydney, I think so, yeah. So, look, has been screaming out for this, I think, in my view. As she put that patch of form together, which was just win, win, win. But that was settle midfield and come with a really strong run. And I've been really interested to see how she steps up here. And the thing I like about her stepping up in this sort of field to this distance range is there's not a lot to get me worried in this field that has been there and done it over the 595, even though she's yet to do it here. Yeah. We do know she's got some bottom end strength.
Yeah, I agree. I think the race sets up beautifully for a really small field. She's going to get back. She's going to need a touch of luck, but in a small field, she'll get that. And I think she's shown in her racing over the 530, she can find her way through a field.
Yeah.
And she is really strong at the end. Really exciting to see what sort of performance she can put on here.
Well, Matho, great job, mate. Another great Dogcast, and we'll catch you next time, but we'll see you Thursday night at the track.